Hi, we're the Animator's Friend podcast. We are collaborating with the Hudson Valley Film Festivals to highlight award recipients in animation. I'm India Lombardi-Bello.
And I'm Kristie Kish.
You're an animator. I'm a podcaster, educator, sometimes animator. And we're with Sofía Arbaiza Martínez. Okay. And you're an Ecuadorian animator, designer, filmmaker, and you are the recipient of the Nectar of the Projector Award for extraordinary animation that reveals the power of storytelling. And this was for your film.
Oh, man.
Yeah, my film Ingrato Sureño Invasor.
Yes.
Yeah, so exciting. I'm like, that's such a cool name too. When I got the email, I was like, whoa.
Nectar of the Projector,
so fancy.
Yeah.
This film is like an animated documentary. I kind of started the film with this idea that I knew the story that my dad had told me about his experiences. My dad, I'm Ecuadorian, but my dad is Peruvian, and he lived most of his life in Ecuador, which is why then later in life they moved there and had me in Ecuador. But he kind of grew up telling me this story about, he grew up in Ecuador in the 80s, which is during a time period where Ecuador and Peru were like still kind of like towards the end of like this conflict that they were having over territory that like it happened. There was like conflicts way back, and then in the 80s and 90s it like kind of reignited and they were fighting again. So it was a little bit outside of like what politically was actually happening. It was more about his like personal experiences, what it was like socially, kind of like what was going on at the time. And it was something that I kind of even like, I grew up in the 2000s in Ecuador, and it was like, you know, still something that like we saw, like we talked about it a lot. Like we kind of like talk about the missing territory that Ecuador has, and it's kind of like this lasting thing. So I wanted to make a film about it, and I'm an animator, so it was just, that's how it happened.
I always wonder about, with documentary storytelling, kind of like what comes first, the narrative or like the event, or like do you find the story in the event, or like what kind of like what comes first, the chicken or the egg type of deal? So can you tell us a little bit more about the inspiration and how the story came out?
I worked in documentary a little bit before, and it's very like, at least from having like experience, it was just like random. Like it really like depends. It's a lot of like things about like you kind of just go out and shoot and see what you find. And I kind of like with this film, I was like, I know I want to do a documentary on something. I knew the story that my dad had told, and I kind of just got him on a call. At first I wanted to like do like a FaceTime, and then my screen recording was not working, and it was very I like got maybe 30 minutes of interview, just no audio at all.
Oh my God.
My dad was like not emotional. My dad like was through the whole interview, he's like kind of laughing, and you can hear it in the thing. Like he's laughing, telling all these crazy things, and he's laughing. I'm like, what are you? So, but he's like kind of going really into, also he's a big like history person, so he was really like going in on the history of it. And yeah, 30 minutes just lost recording, and then I told him to go on Zoom, and then he was very formal at the beginning. So I have like maybe like an hour and a half of just like a really long like interview of him first going really, really into like the history of what of really what the conflict was, and then kind of later on I got a little bit more of like you know, more personal on how it was. And then also like I tried to talk about it from my own experience of being like, you know, the things that I've heard. And it's like kind of like a bit about, you know, separating it from the conflict itself and more about like the way that it's affected people in general. So I kind of, from that I like started, and then it was this big like interview, and then I just kind of went in and edited from what you know, from there going in more into like how to build a story in that, which was overwhelming, but it was good. Yeah.
I feel like doing things like that with family, it's just like a nice artifact of like your family history, but then also like a way to, have a representation of your dad, for forever. So I had a question just because I know you as a student in one of the programs I teach for. But I know you more, I guess, in your, you filmmaking kind of vein of taking kind of almost archival things and creating something new, but also as an animator and doing 2D kind of stuff. So I was curious as to what made you decide to take a more of a mixed media approach for this film. Did you feel like there was something of the material that required it to be more multidisciplinary? It's
interesting because I feel like I always, anytime I'm making films, I always end up somehow in archival footage or somehow in wanting to use found footage, mixed media. It ends up being what I default to, which is kind of why I editing and animating so much, is because it just allows you to do that. But I also I knew I was working on this project, and I had I was talking to a couple people. It was also really short. I made this in maybe 2 weeks.
Wow.
And it was kind of I just had this idea and I had to get it done. So I was talking to some friends, and then I had a group of really talented animators, which is I'm sure they're gonna watch. I mean, they're gonna come up and see it. And we're gonna have so much fun. They all kind of come from different backgrounds. A lot of them like 2D, there's stop motion. There's a little bit of everything. And so I was kind of it would be cool if also we all we kind of took the approach of sort of kind of everybody did the things that they like. And I brought a box of just I keep this stop motion box at home, which is just all found little objects and things. And then we kind of just set up a camera and started shooting and started kind of feeling out what this was, what the story required. I kind of had a rough edit of what the story was going to be. So I kind of just knew that I needed clips. And then through the weekend, I even got more everybody started sending me things of that I could put into the film. And so it was really a group effort of putting a lot of just literally mixed media by having a lot of different talents in one. And then it kind of served this also narrative of I often view making films, especially about I've made a couple films about my background and where I'm from, and it I kind of see it as piecing together history and things that I don't understand. So it's always comes to end up being this weird mix of things, Yeah.
To great effect.
We love it.
Yes. And since we're highlighting animation, but Hudson Valley Film Festival is, it has all kinds of films, and we feel like animation's an underdog sometimes, but obviously we're obsessed. And for those that maybe aren't in the know or animation's lame, it's for kids or whatever, what's your elevator pitch to be this is why animation's great?
Well, I think that animation, I kind of chose animation because I liked, I didn't know how to animate, before coming into college. And I was I just like film. And then I like making art. And I was just do the two things together. But it really is this thing where I feel every time I talk to all my friends are animators, and every time we talk, it's so much about just building what you don't see, whatever you don't see is what you can make with animation. The good thing about it is that it's anything that maybe is not around, anything that you, whether it's within representation, but also things that you just want to look at. What if I wanted to see this I don't know, crazy
something indescribable.
Anything indescribable, a feeling, anything that you are kind of struggling to even get out, in words, you can just draw and then make it move. It just is it's so much out of getting mental images into the real world, and it just is a very freeing and exciting place for everybody to sort of tell their story. So yeah.
I love that.
Agreed.
Have you ever been to a drive-in before? And if so, what was the last movie you saw at a drive-in theater?
So I have been to a drive-in before, and it's like an interesting like reason. It was in the pandemic, like, and all the theaters closed, and me and my family like love going to the movies like all the time. We would go like maybe like at least once or twice in a month. And in the pandemic, like everything closed, so all movie theaters in my city like started doing this thing where they were doing drive-ins to like sell tickets, and so I saw a bunch of movies in that. And I think the last one maybe I saw was The Conjuring 3. Oh, wow. It was not a good movie, but it was, but it was fun. I liked their drive-in like experience. It was cool.
Yeah, I think that that was when there was a resurgence in the drive-ins. Like I think probably they were dying, and then the COVID actually kind of like reintroduced them to the world as like a cool thing to do. Nice. Yeah.
Yay. I definitely hadn't been before, so it was cool to see. Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see your film at the drive-in. Ingrato Sureño Invasor will be on Wednesday, August 19th at the Hudson Valley Film Festival. Where can people like find your stuff if they want to like follow you, find your website, anything like that?
I have Instagram, like, so it's sophisticated, and my portfolio is just my name. So SofiaArbaiza.com. I work on kind of all my work is this. Like, it's just a lot of like mixed stuff. And I like talk a lot about Latin American identity because it's like something that like I felt really like kind of the same thing we were talking before about like animation being like, just if you don't know things, you just make them into something. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't even like understand my identity a lot growing up, and I was kind of trying to piece it together. And so I feel like that's why I gravitate towards like talking about it like now as an artist. Yeah. But it's fun because I get to connect with other people who feel the same. So
yeah.